I mentioned earlier about our accelerated construction program, and now I'd like the opportunity to go into a little bit more detail about why we felt like we needed an accelerated construction program. And earlier I mentioned the Sunset Commission and all that stuff that we did several years ago. What Tucker's been working on contractor performance reviews, that was required, that was mandated by Sunset, that TxDOT do that. What Mario talked about, the We Build Texas program, that's something we decided to do between TxDOT and Associated General Contractors and TxSAPA together. We thought it was the right thing to do because it's all about maintaining and earning public trust. And that means executing and delivering and getting these projects finished. So Mario touched on that. Accelerated construction is similar. It's something we decided to do on our own. We felt like it was the right thing to do as well. And here's why. This is some of the population statistics that we get from our state demographer, and this is comparing the population in the metropolitan areas of the state from the year 2018 to 2050. So the brighter the color, the more population in those respective counties of Texas. And you can kind of see side-by-side comparison of what's going on with the population increases. So a state demographer is projecting that the population in the entire state of Texas could double by the year 2050. And you heard Chairman Buggs say yesterday that 87% of the population is along the I-35 corridor into the east. So that's the focus area. That's where people are going. That's where the jobs are at. It's driving the state's economy, and that's why we are so focused on delivering projects because the people are coming. So we've got to execute and deliver and finish some of these projects. So accelerated construction goals, as I talked about earlier, it's more common that we may finish a project 10 or 20% earlier than projected. But what the accelerated construction program is intended to do is really look at taking that upwards closer to 50%, finishing the projects sooner rather than later. So, and as I said earlier, just reducing that duration of construction really pays off long runs to the economy, to the local economy, to the risk factors involved in what we do, which all translates into dollars. So we can deliver these projects sooner rather than later. I also mentioned earlier that accelerated construction begins in the project development phase. It's not the end of the development phase where you make the decisions. It's at the beginning of the development phase. And I'm talking perhaps even as early as doing the schematics and trying to figure out whether you're going to widen to the left or widen to the right. If you widen either way, you're going to have to buy right away, which is quicker. Buying on both sides of the road, buying on one side of the road. So in looking at utilities, where are your major utilities at, and how can we reduce the amount of time it takes to deliver these projects? So these are all the factors that go into, plus a lot more, go into our accelerated construction program and what we're intended to try to do with all of it. So I mentioned public trust a couple of times this morning. That's what it's all about, earning that public trust and maintaining the public trust that we currently have. I think that's really important because voters of Texas would not have voted for Proposition 1 and 7 and additional revenue for TxDOT if they didn't trust their State Department of Transportation to be good stewards of that money, use it wisely, and deliver on it. So public trust is a big thing to me. It's a big part of We Build Texas. It's a big part of the accelerated construction program. Looking at the expected movements, the minimizing of time delays and maximizing safety is all part of building that public trust. There are direct costs associated with this, obviously. It can cost TxDOT more money in bid items to accelerate a project. But you make up that difference in economic benefits by reducing the length of time that we're out there on that road. We can actually save money. And there's a nice graph that TTI developed in putting this program together. It's out on our website. I don't have it in the PowerPoint, but there's actually a a low point where you can maximize the economics of what we do in the transportation business by accelerating our projects. Pretty interesting information that we have out there. I would encourage everybody to go out to the Construction Division's website and explore these documents. The indirect cost I mentioned, the economic cost, the business cost, the cost of delays. When you add all this up, whether it's public trust, direct cost, or indirect cost, it's all costs that are borne by the taxpayers. There's our customers. They're the ones that voted for more transportation revenue. So we have a responsibility to deliver. So safety and economics. Reducing the work zone duration to improve safety. We mentioned minimizing risk. It also reduces user delays and associated costs with the time that our customers spend in a work zone. They may be stuck in a queue or something like that. They're burning fuel when they're in our work zones. And so there's a direct cost to our customers passing through these work zones. Increasing safety of our workers and the traveling public by reducing the construction durations. Better for the economy by getting in and getting out sooner. Environmental enhancements associated with it as well. I mean, if they're sitting and idling out there on the road in a construction work zone, it's not good for the environment, obviously. And then user cost savings that certainly exceed the direct construction costs. So that's the balance, is trying to put all these different cost contributors together to come up with good decision-making matrices. So alternative contracting methods and concepts. Accelerated bridge construction has been around for quite a while. Other states do that quite a bit. We certainly do that in Texas as well. But we have opportunities to do a little bit more of that. But again, if you're going to do something like that, it takes a lot of coordination with our bridge division, our consultant partners, and you've got to start those discussions early in project development, obviously. You can look at precast bridge components, you can look at roll-in bridges, and there's a whole host of other ideas that we can do to accelerate bridge construction. Accelerated road construction, material selections. What materials do you use to accelerate construction? Some materials have cure time associated with it that may be longer than other materials. So these are all things to be thinking about. There's equipment innovations. There's equipment out there that we don't typically use in Texas because we're unfamiliar with it. So part of the accelerated construction program is bringing in equipment manufacturers and letting them know what we need. What are we trying to accomplish? Maybe there's something they can build for us that will help us build these projects quicker and easier. Of course, construction and phasing and traffic control are all important parts of accelerated road construction. So we talked about reducing construction time and the methods and the concepts and techniques that are available. A+B bidding is just one of them. Chris is going to talk about that here momentarily. We can have milestones in projects. We can have incentives in projects. We can have disincentives in projects. We can have lane rentals, which is pretty common in the metropolitan areas of the state. And then we can also, what Mario does quite a bit in San Antonio and other districts around the state, include the utility adjustments in our construction contract. And that way, you give our contractor at TxDOT, you give them more opportunity to control the work, control the phasing, and work with subcontractors, and it's all part of one contract, and you don't have multiple contracts out there that sometimes conflict with one another. Other considerations are workforce considerations. It's hard on people, right? If we're going to accelerate a project in TxDOT, TxDOT's got to be committed to have the personnel out there to support the contractor. So it's hard on TxDOT too, but it's well worth it in the end when you consider all the factors together. We can certainly incentivize contractors, and that's all part of the analysis and some of the guidance that we've made available out there. As I said earlier, accelerated construction is not for all projects. So we have to be wise about the decisions that we make in regards to accelerated construction. Here's a link to our guidance that's out there. It's on the Construction Division's webpage. That has all kinds of stuff out there about reducing project completion time, minimizing economic cost, reducing risk. And then it talks about the construction methodologies, using a calendar day definition versus a working day, using incentives for early completion, milestones, substantial completion, lane rental, disincentives, A+B bidding, and design build is another option when it comes to accelerated construction program. And it's all about execution. I've said that over and over again this morning. Execute and deliver, and execute with integrity. So public expectations, using broader economic justifications. What I mean by that, I talked earlier about TTI developing an economic impact tool. And that's kind of new to TxDOT. We don't really think about that. When traditionally we think about what's our cost, what's the check we're writing out of the TxDOT checkbook. We don't even hardly consider the economic impacts to a community or to a business. And that may not be, or not considering it was probably not the right thing to do in all cases. So we should be considering those things. The economic development tool allows us to do that. It gives our planners and designers something to work with to see what those exact economic development tools are about. And then that gives you something to go work with the community on. Go talk to the elected officials, explain what we're doing and why we're doing it. Because they all want the project most of the time, but they want you to finish the project every time. So starting construction's not good enough. Just getting, we do groundbreaking ceremonies and all that kind of stuff, and that's all excited, and then the next day they want you to finish it, right? They can't wait. Get the barrels off the road. So we've got to really focusing on finishing the project, avoiding the liquidated damages that Sunset Commission pointed out, and put more focus on the ribbon cuttings rather than the groundbreakings. Get in, get out, stay out, create the win-win-win that we're all looking for with the traveling public, keeping their trust, contractors, TxDOT, and the state's economy as a whole. I think it's the right concept at the right time. We've got $75 billion over the next 10 years. There's a lot of work out there, but we have to get the projects delivered. We've got to finish the projects and look forward to those ribbon cuttings. That's all I had. Carlos, any questions? Yes, sir. Juan.
Yeah, the $75 billion, is that for construction or is it design and construction?
That is for construction. We allow 20% for engineering and right-of-way acquisition. That's on top of that $75 billion. So the Unified Transportation Program is construction costs. The engineering and the right-of-way costs have already been removed. That's in a separate bucket. Juan, stand up real quick. This is Juan. This is not penalty for asking a question. In fact, I want to praise Juan. Juan works in the construction division. He's a great resource, especially when it comes to A+B. I know you do a lot of other things over there, Juan, but Juan tracks our A+B progress, and has for years, going back 2013. Yeah. So every month he sends a report of how many of our projects that we've gone through letting that had A+B, and he analyzes the time, he analyzes the dollar savings, and Juan, if I remember right, just about every time we save time on the project. The contractors bid fewer number of days than what our engineers set up in the plans, and the price, I believe, at least 98% of the time, comes in less than what the engineer's estimate is with A+B. Didn't mean to steal your thunder, Chris, but I had to plug Juan. He's a great resource. Thank you, Juan.
I'll make sure it gets back to Juan.
Any other questions for me?
All right.
Perfect. Thank you.